So do we believe it? Do we believe that we can change this world with our own two hands? Maybe with a lot of other hands, but our personal own two hands, maybe other people, other leaders, but do we believe we, every individual in this room, can change the world with our own two hands? It reminds me that there's 10 very important words that we need to remember. As you believe, so shall it be done unto you. 10 words. As you believe, so shall it be done unto you. We teach in our New Thought philosophy, and it's a universal truth principle, that what we believe is how we experience life. Now, sometimes we can talk about our beliefs create our reality, but what it's more like is that that's partially true, but what's more accurate, I would say, is how we experience that reality. So if we believe that it's important to have 3 cars, and we don't have 3 cars, then we might be unhappy, because our belief is that what brings value, what shows that I value is I have 3 cars. If I believe that all I need is a car for transportation, and all I have is a car for transportation, then I may more likely be at peace. And that's just one example. We can do it about relationships, health, money. All our beliefs about what we think is important is how we're going to experience our life in the world. What we believe is how we're going to experience the world. So how powerful is this? 3,000 years ago, 3,000 BC, there were many, many small tribes that roamed this planet. There were a few big civilizations. Egypt had already built great pyramids by this time. But of all these many, many small tribes that are wandering the planet, there's this one nomadic tribe in the upper Arabian desert that wandered around, a nomadic tribe, and then they found a little plot of land about the 1/8 of the size of the state of Illinois. And there's nothing exceptional about this tribe. Their history is very similar to other tribes' history. There's nothing that really stands out about them. And yet this one little tribe has impacted 1/3 of our Western civilization. It's the tribe of the Judea people. So the question people have asked is, why is this one little nomadic tribe, when there were so many nomadic tribes, and there's nothing exceptional about their history if you sort of look at it from the outside in, what made them different? Why has this one little tribe impacted 1/3 of our Western civilization? They had a belief in a God, a one God, and that God, first of all, loved them, cared about them. This God they saw as their father. They called this God Father, which means that they were their children. This was a warm and intimate God. There's a sociologist named Rodney Stark. And he actually wrote this about Christians, but it just I never really thought about it till I read it. He said that the Roman Empire became Christian not just because it was a grassroots level. He said that's the typical understanding. He said, but actually it was the Roman elite that started getting very interested in Christianity. It went from under 100 people. Jesus barely shows up in historical records, and then there's this small group of people, and then by Constantine's time there's 6 million Romans who are Christians. He said what drew the Romans partly to what Christianity was how they behaved, and they behaved in a happier way because they saw a God that cared about them. When we think about the Roman gods or the Greek gods, these are gods who are amoral and basically were fairly indifferent to the human world down here. They were very involved in all their dramas. But this world was not that. They just sort of used and abused people down here in this world. So when they saw that there was this one God, and they look at this God as the Father who cares deeply about every individual, about the details, and thought the details of this life were actually very, very important, that was a whole different perspective shift. And so we look at this Jewish tribe that had this one God that they called Father that loved them, and and not because they were so special, they did everything wrong, they were always breaking the rules, they were pretty violent people in many ways, they acted like many tribes, but this God was still their Father, and this God still loved them. They also believed that they were the chosen ones. They believed that no matter what, God loved them specifically. And so we can get a little uncomfortable around that, but that's a part of the ethnocentric worldview that many people, most tribes went through, is my way is the right way. But this is the God that loves them and made them feel special. And so as we've evolved and our understanding of spirituality and of God is evolved, what we now realize is that every one of us is the chosen one. Everyone in this room, you are the chosen one. You are chosen by God to be here. Your life is intensely interesting and cared about and valued by this transcendent self, this transcendent presence, cares deeply about this little being called you and every detail of your life. So, well, before we talk about how that would feel like, just to get a conceptual picture of it in our head, going by just universal principle, there's this one power, one presence. We are that power, that presence. It is infinite. So the entire cosmos can be experienced through our interior being. There's one I am presence. So we are all diverse expressions of this I am, but as we sink deeper and deeper, we touch this I am, which is the source of everything that's happening in this cosmos. So when we get deeper and deeper, we can actually experience the cosmos being birthed through us, the entire world. So the example I used last Wednesday, whenever we were here last time, was the dreamer. We can dream in a night, many dreams, lots of characters, lots of situations. We can take different perspectives in all those different dreams, and it flows. But there's only one dreamer dreaming everything. When we touch into that I, that is the I that is dreaming all of these people, all of these voices, all these perspectives. And when we wake up, each one of us is a consciousness of this one life. I had a friend who worked with a spiritual teacher from Ghana, West Africa. And most people went to him for healings. But when she went to him, she said, I want to know God. And so he took her within. She said, we went into it, just dove really deep into this meditation. And she said, suddenly I just experienced the cosmos being birthed through me. I was just there, and I could, galaxies and stars and everything was just pouring through my very being, my very life. And I had a painting that I shared with her, and I actually ended up getting it for her. And she said it was exactly what her experience was. And this is so to give us a visual image. It's of, you can change genders. It doesn't matter about the gender, but the presence of God, the cosmos being birthed through us. This person here, this being, this presence, that's all of us. That everyone in this room is a birther of the cosmos through your beingness. You are that infinite I am presence right now. No matter what happens in this world, that presence is within you. Nothing can ever limit it. Nothing can ever touch it. Nothing can ever hurt it. Nothing can ever harm it. Nothing can ever be added onto it. It is always fully orbed within us. Now, what I believe is that our relative self, which we are living in every day, we have our bills to pay, we have our normal life, we forget and get disconnected to that, and yet we long for it. We long to remember that divine presence within us. And that becomes so important to recognize that that love that we want to experience from that infinite self that is within us is our deepest longing. That's the place from where we know we are chosen. And when we know we are chosen, when we are loved by that presence of love, then we can add all the things add on to us. So seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all things shall be added unto us. There is a class I took in ministerial school by Dr. Martin Rossman. He was a medical doctor for 30 years in Michigan, and he discovered the power of doing guided imagery with his patients to bring healing to them. And I love the way he did it. He didn't tell them what to see. He only asked them questions. So he would take them into a deep state of relaxation, and then he would ask them for the images that were coming out of their own interior being. Where are you now? Where is a safe place for you? And they would describe where they were. And he'd always ask, okay, now you have an inner advisor coming to you. It's someone with great wisdom. And he had rules. This presence has to be pure, unconditional love and infinitely wise. If you do not feel this presence love that's showing up, then that's not your inner guide. That's not your inner wise presence. And he said we had the whole gamut. People sometimes saw their own self, their highest self. Some people saw Jesus or Buddha. Some people saw animals. Everyone was different, what that image that came up. But those were the two rules, that they had to be unconditionally loving and intelligent. And he also said you always have the option to say no. This is not, you don't lose your power in this process. So he was working with this one woman. She was a psychotherapist. She was married, very happily married, had wonderful children, had a strong support network, and she got the diagnosis of breast cancer. And she was trying to decide what was the next step for her, which is how he used this, often is for guidance. Should she do chemotherapy, or what was her next step? So he took her within, and he asked her who this being was. And she said this incredible being first it was pink and just this radiant light. And all she did was felt completely loved. And she just started crying. And she said it was the first time in her life she didn't feel lonely. And he was so surprised. He said, this is one of my patients who had the strongest support network, but she still felt lonely. What we are seeking is for that connection, to know that we are always loved, that we are always God's chosen one, that there is that divine presence within us that wants to love us, and we want to be loved. And we can have everything out there, but until we know we are loved by that divine presence, there's always this thing that feels like it's missing. For her, that's what she wanted from this interior guidance, was not to know what was her next step. She just wanted to know she was loved by this presence called God. And it was like nothing else. She couldn't get it anywhere else. So often when we think about using our beliefs to create our reality, we want to create reality because it's coming from a place of emptiness. So if I get greater relationships, greater prosperity, greater health, now I'll feel connected. Now I'll feel happy. But that's in backwards order. First, we want to know that we are the chosen ones. Everyone in this room is the chosen one now. And we start to embrace that, feel what that would start to feel like, that you are the center of God. That St. Augustine said, you are the center where there is no circumference. You are the center of God's love. Every individual in this room, we can't place our mind around that, but every one of us is the center of God's love. We are chosen. And when we start to walk through our life to really start to feel that, then we start owning who we are. We start coming from this place of ownership. And we can claim our reality. Well, we can claim our reality to start stating what we want if we need shifts to happen out there, but now not from a place of begging and beseeching, but from a place of authority, from that power, from the power of who we are. And I'm reminded of this. I just got an email from one of Paramahansa Yogananda's readings, and he said all prayers should be like a demand. We are not here to beg and beseech. We are here to act from this place, this divine place that knows the entire cosmos is being birthed from us, and to stand in that authority of demand. And that resonated with me. I also had a cosmology professor who was a physicist who had worked with Einstein and taught himself Sanskrit so he could learn the Hindu scriptures from the original source, and he read CSLLV. He loved talking about sex, and there was nothing. This guy's mind just was amazing. He was vast, and so he's sharing one of his vast, amazing experiences, and he just sort of said, and I know you've all had that experience, and I was just like, yeah, no, I haven't had that experience. And he looks at me and he goes, well, you haven't? Why not? Demand it of the universe. It's your right. And again, it was that demand. We deserve it. We spend so much time walking around, do I deserve this? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? So we want to start choosing to feel chosen, choosing to know that we are chosen. Now that can be hard sometimes because it's great when you've had that experience, but what if you don't feel it? There was a woman named Judith Wright. She wrote a book, There Must Be Something More Than This. And she talked about when she in a relationship with her husband, she loved when they were connected and they would go out and have these romantic, loving dinners. But then there would be these times where they felt completely disconnected. They were both very busy, active professional lives, and so they'd go days and days without any connection. And then she'd start thinking and feeling, he doesn't love me anymore, I need to reconnect. And she'd have to reaffirm with him that he loves her. And she said, somewhere along the line, I made a choice. I chose to know that he loved me whether I felt it or not, whether we had any connection whatsoever. We could go for weeks without connection, but I chose to just choose to know that he loved me. And I think sometimes we feel like we can't do that. We have to feel it. We have to have a divine experience. But the power is, even when we don't feel it, that power is within us. We don't have to make it happen. So when we start choosing on a regular basis to know that we are chosen, then we are moving our pattern to going from feeling like not enough. And if you notice, when you start practicing this, might feel uncomfortable. I choose to feel chosen, that I am the chosen one, to know that I am chosen, to live as if I am chosen. Every area of my life is chosen. So this is my invitation to everyone here. For the next 3 weeks, we have 3 weeks till we come. That's 21 days. They say 21 days is how long it takes to start a new pattern. 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Whether you feel it or not, whether it feels like a complete lie or not, I'm inviting you, demanding of you, to affirm to yourself that you are the chosen one, that you are God's chosen, that God is choosing you now, that you are the center of God's heart and God's love now. 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You just make that choice to know that you are chosen. It changes the world. This little Jewish tribe, little nomadic tribe, hundreds, thousands of nomadic tribes, little tribes. This one tribe has affected 1/3 of Western civilization. They believe no matter what is happening in their life, everything has a reason because they are chosen. Everything that they do has value because they are chosen. What if we all had that impact? Will we think that we then, as we go back to the original song, do we think our own 2 hands can make a difference? When we realize who we really are and that we are the chosen ones, every individual in this room is the chosen ones now, and we start to live that and believe it, as you believe, so shall it be done unto you. Really believe it. It will change your world and the world in which you live in. Are you with me? Do you believe we can? Yes. Do you believe we really, really can? Yes. All right. But with that, we are going to change the world. I can't wait to be back in 3 weeks and to see how much our world has changed. And I'm serious, actually, about this. Part of the intention of this community, this little community, we might be small in numbers, but mighty in consciousness, one in God as a majority, that we will start impacting the vibrational field in Livermore Valley. There's been many research experiments. Studies, that's the word. I knew there was another word after that. Where when people start really coming together, knowing who they are, they affect the crime rate in that city. They affect how people are feeling in that city. So I do believe that in 3 weeks, we can start feeling it for ourselves, the difference in our own individual lives, and it's going to start impacting Livermore Valley.